Ladies and gentlemen, there is a voice that calls out to us, not in the noise of the world, not in the chaos of our daily struggles, but in the stillness of our hearts. This voice does not shout over distractions. It whispers in moments of quiet, urging us toward truth, love, and purpose. This is the voice of God. God speaks in many ways, and throughout history, He has made His voice known to those who are willing to listen. His voice is not confined to a single method or moment, but is revealed through various means that guide, correct, and encourage us. The question is not whether He speaks, but whether we are paying attention to the ways in which He reaches out to us. One of the most direct and powerful ways God speaks is through His Word. The Scriptures have stood the test of time, providing wisdom, instruction, and comfort to all who seek Him. Every page contains truths that can shape our lives, helping us navigate through joy and sorrow, victory and hardship. The words found in His book are not just historical records or moral guidelines. They are living and active, capable of speaking to the deepest parts of our hearts. When we open the pages with a sincere desire to understand, we often find that a verse or passage seems to be written just for us in that moment, answering a question, giving peace in distress, or confirming a decision. Beyond His written word, God speaks through creation, the beauty of the world around us, the vastness of the heavens, the power of the oceans, the intricate details of a single flower, all testify to His presence and glory. Nature itself reveals the handiwork of a Creator who not only formed the universe, but also continues to sustain it. A sunrise, the changing of the seasons, or even the quiet rustling of leaves in the wind can remind us that He is near. In these moments, if we are still, we can sense His voice reminding us of His greatness and His care for all He has made. Another way He speaks is through people. Sometimes we are given messages of encouragement, wisdom, or even correction through others, whether it be a friend, a family member, or even a stranger. A kind word spoken at just the right time, a sermon that addresses exactly what we are going through, or a piece of advice that challenges us to grow. All of these can be ways in which God communicates. Often, He uses others to speak into our lives in ways we might not expect. If we are open to listening, we may find that an ordinary conversation holds extraordinary meaning. God also speaks through circumstances. Life is filled with unexpected turns, doors that open, paths that close, challenges that seem overwhelming, and blessings that come at just the right moment. These situations are not always random. They can be ways in which God directs us toward His will. Sometimes a hardship may be a way of refining our character or drawing us closer to Him. Other times, an unexpected opportunity may be a sign of His provision. When we reflect on the events of our lives with a spiritual perspective, we begin to recognize His hand at work, guiding us in ways we may not have noticed at first. Perhaps one of the most intimate and personal ways God speaks is through the still, small voice within us. There are moments when we feel a deep conviction about a decision, an unexplainable peace in the midst of chaos, or a nudge in our spirit that urges us in a certain direction. This is His voice, speaking directly to our hearts. But to hear it, we must be willing to listen. The world is filled with noise and distractions that can drown out His guidance. It takes intentional effort to quiet ourselves, to step away from the busyness, and to open our hearts to Him. The reality is that God is always speaking. He desires a relationship with us, one where we are not only talking to Him, but also listening for His response. The more we tune our hearts to recognize His voice in His Word, in creation, in people, in circumstances, and in the stillness of our souls, the more we will be able to walk in alignment with His will. The challenge is not whether He is speaking, but whether we are truly listening. In today's fast-paced world, distractions are everywhere. The noise of daily life often drowns out the quiet voice that seeks to guide, comfort, and lead us in the right direction. Between work, social obligations, technology, and personal worries, it is easy to become so overwhelmed that we fail to recognize when we are being spoken to. The truth is, we often long for answers, direction, and clarity, but we rarely slow down enough to truly listen. It is not that guidance is absent. Rather, our ability to hear is constantly being challenged by the distractions that surround us. One of the greatest distractions comes from the busyness of life. Every day is filled with responsibilities that demand our attention, deadlines to meet, relationships to manage, and personal goals to pursue. There is always something urgent that seems to take precedence over everything else. In the midst of these obligations, we often tell ourselves that we will make time to listen later. But later never comes. The demands of life continue to pile up, pushing reflection and stillness further and further away. In the rush to keep up, we become so consumed with what needs to be done that we fail to hear the voice calling us to slow down and focus on what truly matters. Technology has also become a major source of distraction. The modern world is filled with screens, notifications, and endless streams of information. Social media, emails, news updates, and entertainment compete for our attention, often leaving little room for deeper reflection. Many wake up and immediately reach for their phones, filling their minds with messages, updates, and schedules before they even take a moment to be still. Even in moments of quiet, the habit of distraction persists. Instead of listening for wisdom and guidance, many instinctively fill the silence with more noise, scrolling, watching, and consuming endless content that offers momentary entertainment but no lasting fulfillment. Worry and anxiety are also powerful distractions that keep us from truly listening. When faced with uncertainty, struggles, or difficult decisions, it is natural to seek solutions. However, rather than pausing to listen for guidance, we often allow our minds to be consumed by fear and doubt. Thoughts race through our heads, questioning every possibility and trying to solve problems on our own. Instead of finding peace, we exhaust ourselves with endless concerns about the future, what-ifs, and worst-case scenarios. The more we focus on our worries, the less we are able to hear the voice that brings true reassurance and direction. Pride can also play a role in drowning out the voice that seeks to lead us. Many times, people become so focused on their own plans and desires that they are unwilling to consider another path. When things go well, it is easy to assume that personal effort alone is responsible for success. When difficulties arise, it is tempting to rely solely on personal strength rather than seeking guidance. This self-reliance can create a barrier, making it difficult to recognize when a different course of action is being presented. True wisdom requires humility, the willingness to step back, set aside personal agendas, and be open to something greater than one's own understanding. Despite these distractions, it is possible to cultivate a lifestyle of listening. The first step is recognizing that stillness is necessary. The world will always be filled with noise, obligations, and worries, but making intentional time to step away from distractions allows for clarity. Setting aside quiet moments each day to reflect, meditate, or simply be still opens the heart to receive what is already being spoken. It is not about waiting for a dramatic sign or an earth-shattering revelation. It is about tuning in to the voice that has been there all along, whispering wisdom, encouragement, and direction. Another key to overcoming distractions is prioritizing what truly matters. It is easy to say there is no time to listen, but the reality is that time is often spent on things that do not bring lasting fulfillment. Setting boundaries with technology, reducing unnecessary commitments, and intentionally making space for quiet reflection allows for a clearer connection to the voice that seeks to guide. Even in the midst of a busy life, small moments of stillness can be powerful. Whether it is a few minutes in the morning, a break in the middle of the day, or a quiet moment before sleep. Letting go of worry is also essential. Instead of allowing fears and uncertainties to dominate thoughts, choosing to trust and remain open to guidance brings a sense of peace. This does not mean ignoring challenges or avoiding responsibility, but rather shifting focus from anxious striving to receptive listening. Many times the answers we seek come not through excessive worrying, but through quiet surrender. The ability to hear is not about whether the voice is speaking, it is about whether there is a willingness to listen. The distractions of life will always be present, but they do not have to control the ability to receive guidance. By making intentional space for stillness, reducing unnecessary noise, and approaching life with humility and trust, it becomes possible to hear the voice that has been there all along. The question is not whether there is something being spoken, it is whether the heart is ready to listen. Listening requires stillness, yet the world constantly pulls people in the opposite direction. Society glorifies busyness, productivity, and constant movement, making it difficult to embrace quietness. In the rush to achieve goals, meet deadlines, and manage responsibilities, it is easy to forget that true wisdom often comes not in the noise, but in the silence. The challenge is not just to hear, but to actively listen, and that requires a deliberate effort to step away from distractions and create space for reflection. Stillness is not merely the absence of noise. It is an intentional posture of the heart and mind. It is the ability to quiet the restless thoughts, the endless worries, and the need to be in control. Many people search for direction, but rarely take the time to stop and listen. They ask for guidance, yet their minds remain preoccupied with their own plans and desires. True listening happens when there is a willingness to pause, to be open, and to receive without the need to rush ahead with personal agendas. One of the greatest obstacles to stillness is the constant demand for attention. In a world filled with distractions, moments of silence are rare. Technology, social media, and the pressures of daily life compete for focus, leaving little room for reflection. The mind is often filled with an endless stream of information, opinions, and worries, making it difficult to recognize the quiet voice that seeks to provide clarity. Without intentional stillness, the ability to listen becomes clouded by the noise of daily life. Cultivating stillness begins with setting aside dedicated time for quiet reflection. This does not mean waiting for a perfect moment when life slows down, because such a time may never come. Instead, it requires prioritizing moments of silence, even in the midst of a busy schedule, early in the morning, during a break in the day, or before going to sleep. Small moments of stillness can create space for clarity and direction. It is in these moments that distractions fade and the heart becomes more receptive to wisdom. Stillness also requires patience. In a fast-moving world, there is an expectation for immediate answers, instant solutions, and quick results. But deep wisdom is not always given in a single moment. Sometimes clarity comes gradually, unfolding over time. The ability to wait, to trust, and to remain open is essential. Impatience often leads people to rush ahead, making decisions without fully understanding the guidance they are given. But when there is a willingness to be still and wait, deeper insights and greater understanding emerge. Another essential aspect of stillness is humility. True listening is not about hearing only what is desirable or convenient. It is about being open to truth, even when it challenges personal desires or expectations. Many times people struggle to listen because they have already decided what they want to hear. They may seek confirmation of their own plans rather than true direction. But humility allows for an open heart, willing to accept wisdom even when it leads in an unexpected direction. Letting go of fear is also a crucial part of stillness. Worry and anxiety can be loud, filling the mind with doubts and uncertainties. Fear can make it difficult to recognize guidance, as it creates confusion and hesitation. However, when the heart is quieted and trust replaces fear, clarity becomes more apparent. The more still the mind and heart become, the easier it is to discern truth from the distractions of doubt and uncertainty. Stillness is not about inaction. It is about preparation. It is in quiet moments that strength is renewed, clarity is gained, and purpose is reaffirmed. Those who embrace stillness find themselves more attuned to wisdom and direction. They are not easily swayed by the chaos of the world because they have taken the time to listen and understand. The choice to be still is not always easy, but it is always valuable. In the stillness, clarity replaces confusion, peace replaces anxiety, and wisdom replaces uncertainty. The voice that speaks in the silence has always been there, waiting to be heard. The challenge is not whether wisdom is available, but whether there is a willingness to pause long enough to receive it.